Pro Football Hall of Famer who has been there and done that, playing it and broadcasting it, is Dan Fouts back here on the show. How are you, Dan?
Oh, I'm good. I just love listening to it. It was great hearing it the first time and seeing it. But Ian was all over it, as he always is, as you know.
Well, you were too. I mean, and you did you've been there, done that. You just let it all breathe, and then you got in there and told us what you saw, what happened. I mean, did you see that unfolding at all, Dan Fouts? Period.
Well, the laterals were perfect, and they were backwards, which is important, obviously. And normally, what we see in those cases where after the second lateral, the next one hits the ground or hits an offensive lineman, and the game's over. But in this case, it just was perfectly executed. They got it to the right guy. I mean, Kenyan Drake is the fastest guy on the offense, and so once he got it, it just looked like the Patriots were running in slow motion. And I know, that's weird things happen in Miami, and that field was kind of mushy and everything, but it certainly wasn't mushy for Kenyan Drake.
Yeah, and where do you stand on the subject of Gronk had no business being out there, Dan?
I don't think he should have been out there because there's no way Tannehill could have reached the end zone with a pass. You take out, I think it was Devin McCourty, who's one of their best tacklers in space. And Gronk was out there for one reason, is to knock a pass down, not to make a tackle.
Well, it's the longest pass play or any play to end a game in the Super Bowl era with no time left. I mean, that's never happened before. So I will ask you this: prior to this, what was the greatest, most shocking thing you had seen to end a game on the field, playing or broadcasting, Dan?
Well, Kansas City against Dallas, I think it was last year, hit Tyreek Hill. And I think it was at the end of the first half, and they executed, that play like it was a punt return, and he got into the end zone. Of course, you can always go back to the Miami Charger playoff game when the Dolphins ran the hook and ladder at the end of the first half, which was perfectly executed to get them in the end zone. But this one, it was just unimaginable, really, that you could go that far with just two laterals.
So I guess you're speaking from experience when you're saying strange things happen in Miami. Oh, Dan?
Well, they have. I know that, and especially to the Patriots. I mean, when's the last time you saw Tom Brady make a mental error at the end of the first half and taking that sack without any timeouts to kill the clock after it? So that's just plain weird.
Yeah, I know. And then Brandon Bolden, of all people, scored not once but twice. First 2-touchdown game for him prior to all that happening. So how much do you take into this, knowing strange things happened about the Patriots' viability moving forward, Dan Fouts?
Well, first of all, I think you got to give Adam Gase a lot of credit for putting Bolden in there, and because he hadn't carried it one time all year. He's a special teams guy, but he's an expatriate. So you know that he's going to have a little extra juice there, and the Patriots did not scout him, obviously. But going forward, they're still going to win their division, which is what they do every year for the last 10 years or so. So it's interesting where they'll place, though, with the playoffs coming up. Obviously, this game on Thursday night with the Chargers and Chiefs is as big as it gets. And it will have a large determination on not only those two teams' futures, but the rest of the AFC.
And obviously the Dolphins. I mean, what a huge W that is. I mean, they could be sitting there at 6-7 with the Broncos, or where they are, which is in the 7 seed now at 7-6. Do you look at that team and think that's a playoff team?
Well, they've got a great boost today with the Vikings firing John DeFilippo. Ian and I will be in Minneapolis on Sunday for that game, so we're anxious to step into that bit of drama and see just how much the Dolphins can take advantage of that chaotic situation in Minnesota.
Okay, so then you led me to my next question. I had no idea you and Ian were calling that game, so this is perfect. And I'm sure you were watching Monday Night Football, getting ready for that broadcast. What gives? I'll just throw that out there. Is this the right maneuver to fire the offensive coordinator with 3 weeks to go, based on what you're seeing from this offense, Dan?
Well, let's go back a couple of years when Norv Turner left. And why did he leave? I mean, obviously there's some friction between the head coach and his coordinators. And it's shocking that with the talent that they have, with the running backs and the wide receivers and the tight end. Obviously, it's an offensive line issue that they can't give Cousins enough time to find all this talent, and there's some, discord there as to how you want to take advantage of it.
Well, I mean, how much do you lay at the feet of Cousins then? I mean, obviously his contract is something that was talked about throughout the broadcast, and that's what all fans are focusing on right now, as well as the fact that he just doesn't perform very well on the road, under the lights, under teams that have a better record than the one that he's playing for. So how much do you lay at his feet here, Dan?
Well, I think obviously any quarterback is going to have to take as much criticism as possible because he's the last guy with the ball in his hand when he's throwing it or handing it off. So he's going to, have to look at his record, as you pointed out, Rich. But also he's just running the plays that are called. So there's plenty of blame to go around. You can't fire the quarterback who's making $84 million, though. You can fire the coordinator, apparently. So
what I said at the top of the broadcast, Dan, because that firing happened literally as we were coming on the air. You can't say that that this change is not going to work when the Browns put in Freddie Kitchens as soon as they made a change in the middle of the season, and they look like a completely different offense. So I'm wondering what you think of the possibility that things could turn around for the Vikings with the 3 games to go here.
Well, obviously it can turn around. I just think that with the expectations coming into the season and not living up to them, kind of like the Eagles, it's a totally different situation than the Browns. I mean, the Browns are rolling right now. Mayfield is having the type of year that a lot of people in Cleveland were hoping that he would have. Totally different situation, though, I think, in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I mean, Ian came on the show the other day, Dan, and told us a story that really knocked us off our feet, to be honest with you, that when you and he were in the broadcast meeting prior to what turned out to be Hugh Jackson's finale, you asked him, how come you're not running any more plays from Oklahoma or running Oklahoma plays to make Mayfield comfortable? I guess I'm paraphrasing the question, and he said the answer was, I agree.
Well, I said, I kind of followed up a couple of times. I said, well, why not? Come on, give me something here. But obviously there was some disagreement with Todd Haley and Hugh. I mean, Hugh used to be a play caller. That's how he made his chops. But for him not to have an answer, I think that's why he's no longer employed.
Yeah, I mean, because the HC should have the final say. Clearly, that's the case in Minnesota right now. One would think.
Well, that's why the word head is there in front of coach, right?
That's one way to put it, Dan Fouts. That certainly is one way to put it. What do you think right now of Phillip Rivers? He's breaking records that you used to hold, Dan. He's just a dynamite, all-time great player. What do you think of when you see Phillip Rivers?
I really enjoy watching him play because he plays with a passion. He plays with toughness. He plays with smarts. And I like the funky throwing motion because it's compact and it's accurate. All the things about Phillip Rivers I admire greatly. I'm concerned, though, coming Thursday night, if he doesn't have Eckler and if he doesn't have Melvin Gordon, how will they be able to take on the Chiefs and that offense of Mahomes? The biggest thing, when you've got 2 rookie running backs for that game, sure, they're going to be able to run the ball and they're going to be able to make yardage, but are they going to be able to pass protect? And that's where rookies have the biggest problem. And with a defensive coordinator like Bob Sutton, with edge rushers and Dee Ford and Justin Houston, that's where the chips have got to come. That's where the double teams have got to come. And that's where the blitz pickup from these 2 rookie running backs has got to be spot on. I'm concerned about that for the Chargers.
What do you think Don Coryell would think of the current state of offense in the National Football League, Dan? Because we're talking about Phillip, you're talking about kind of a dying breed where there's no run-pass option, there's no threat of a run, there's none of that stuff. There's no movement from just the quarterback position that you're seeing from all these young kids. What do you think your old coach would have thought about the current state?
Oh, obviously he would love it. Absolutely, because it would be confirmation to his philosophy that you can move the ball, you can win games throwing the ball. And so I was fortunate enough to have 9 great years with him. I believe he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because of his contribution to the National Football League on both sides of the ball, because defenses had to figure out a way to stop the high-powered passing games, and they've done that pretty much. It's interesting to see how well defenses are playing late in the season now, isn't it? I mean, last night's game and what the Bears did to the Rams, it really makes this time of year that much more unpredictable.
So, Dan, I want to hit you up before I let you go on Ben Roethlisberger from Sunday. I'm sure you were making your way out of the Hard Rock after that shocking finish. And Roethlisberger, as we all know, suffered a rib injury. Today, he said that part of the reason why there was confusion of him coming back is because the X-ray machine in Oakland was old, and they couldn't really tell much from
the X-ray machine in Oakland is a Polaroid camera.
Is it the same one they used with you, Dan, from back in the day?
It's the same way they used with Blanda.
Are you serious, by the way?
Well, I'm just surmising. I didn't know that stadium. I mean,
I know.
Everything is back in the '60s in that stadium. It's ridiculous.
Well, he said it led to part of the I don't want to use the word issue, but the lack of clarity on his injury led to maybe him standing around and not getting back into the game. This was him don't give me the one with the X-ray. Give me the other one. I want to play this soundbite for you, Dan, from Big Ben's radio show today, and just ask you your thoughts on him talking about why he didn't come back immediately into the game.
If I take the field, am I going to make our team worse? You want to play unless you think you're going to hurt your team, right? You don't want to just go out there just to be out there. So at this point, we didn't know if I was going to get on the field or not, but I wanted to be out there. And Kevin kind of made the comment like, let's let our defense hold him. Josh can get this thing done, but let's get out there. And I said, I agree. So we got back out on the field, and they were in the middle of a drive. We were, and so I was just out there, kind of trying to get loose, keep my legs loose, and really just being out there in an emergency situation, or to be there for Josh to help support him and answer questions for him. And that's kind of was the approach we took when we came back. That's the reason we came back onto the field.
Dan Fouts, what do you think?
Well, that's his explanation, and obviously he didn't have clarity on the injury, and felt that was the best decision. I'm not sure who all led to that decision, how much input Tomlin had and the doctors. So it's hard to really second guess without having full amount of information on the situation.
Well, I'm not. I guess I'm not asking to second. It just strikes me as odd. I mean, how many times were you held out of a game and you didn't want to get back in? It just seems strange. There just seems to be something missing from the actual explanation here.
Well, I can only answer for myself, and
yep.
The answer would be never, because I always wanted to play. If I could, hobble back 5 yards, I could throw the ball, and that would be it. But the key part there is he didn't want to hurt the team by not being able to throw, I guess, and not being as accurate as he wanted to. I think that's what I would focus on. That's one of the first things he said is that would I be a negative if I went out and played instead of a positive.
Dan, appreciate the time, as always. We'll chat down the road. Have a great time. You and I nailed it. That was really exhilarating to watch, and I look forward to your call the rest of the year.
Thanks for having me on, Rich, as always.
You bet. Right back at you. That's Pro Football Hall of Famer Dan Fouts.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.